Hi, just want to take a few minutes before my Saturday morning run to talk about the benefits of high intensity interval training versus steady state cardio. Now, um, high intensity interval training involves bringing your heart rate over 80% of your max heart rate for a particular time period. Could be 30 seconds, could be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, but that heart rate level that you're going to bring it up past is usually about 80% of your max. Um, you find your max heart rate. A general formula for that would be 220, subtract your age from that. Okay, so let's say if it was 40, you'd have 220 minus 40, you get 180, and then multiply it by a percentage. So for 80%, you multiply it by 0.8, you get 145. Okay, so to get above that, at or above that 80% of your max heart rate, puts you in crossing what's called your anaerobic threshold. An anaerobic threshold is a point at which you start using more anaerobic metabolism versus your aerobic metabolism. And I think this is where the confusion sometimes comes in because, generally in aerobic, in your steady state cardio, people call their aerobic zone, you might be using 60 to 70% of your total energy burned or calories consumed is coming from aerobic energy, breaking down fatty acids, using oxygen, and creating energy through that metabolic system, and 30 to 40% through your anaerobic system, which is basically what we call carbs, but it's glycogen, glucose converted to glycogen, stored in the muscle, and it's much more quickly accessed. It also burns off quicker, hence the need for intervals of 30 seconds to maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So when you cross that anaerobic threshold, you do not stop using your aerobic metabolic system. Now, the percentage of your total energy definitely shifts. So you might have a 60, 70% coming from anaerobic, 30 or 40% coming from aerobic, the opposite of before. But that's not because you're burning less fat. Your total energy output has increased, okay? You have maxed out what your aerobic metabolic system can provide in energy. So it's at its max. It hasn't pulled back. You're not burning less fat. You're maxing it out, okay? But you need more, so you start pulling from another energy source, the anaerobic metabolism, okay? So it's not, I think people get concerned about it, think, oh, I'm not going to burn as much fat. No, you're maxing it out, and you're actually training it to be more efficient, because as you continue to train at that anaerobic threshold, you make that aerobic metabolism much more efficient. So it actually can raise that anaerobic threshold where you can begin to start putting out more energy from your aerobic metabolism. Okay, it becomes more efficient by pushing the threshold. Makes sense, right? So there's no leaving a fat burning zone. If anything, you're making that metabolism, like I said, work better, work more efficiently. So of course, now when you come back down out of your high intensity interval, you come back to an aerobic level, right? Usually maybe at 65, 70, 75% of max heart rate at that point for the recovery period. And during that period, your aerobic metabolism is working to replenish the energy stores that you just burned off from the anaerobic side. It's trying to replenish that ATP, that glycogen that was stored in the muscle. So you're never leaving a fat burning zone. If anything, you're depending on it more. And I'm sure you've probably heard the benefits of there's more long-term benefits of up to a 24-hour metabolic boost from interval training as opposed to steady state. Now, that is dependent, how long that is dependent on the intensity of your workout, intensity and duration of your interval training. But the reason for this is because you have drained energy supplies from your anaerobic side, your glycogen, okay? Your aerobic metabolism increases there when you're not exercising throughout the rest of the next day to replenish those stores and bring your body back to where it was prior to that interval training session. So you get a metabolic boost for however many hours it takes to replenish and bring your body back to that original state. So, and as far as how many times to do this, people say, how often should I do this? Well, 1 time a week would be good. You'd be beneficial. 2 to 3 times might be the most you really need to make sure you recover, depending on what else you're doing. So you just have to gauge it with what other activities you have. But at least once a week would be a great benefit. I certainly wouldn't do more than 3 times a week, considering everything else I do. So that's my probably long-winded explanation. But just so you understand, you never really leave an aerobic zone. As long as your heart's beating and you're using oxygen, you're breaking down fatty acids for fuel and for energy for your body. Okay, you never leave that state as long as your heart's beating. Okay, but if you have any questions, feel free to post them, and I'll do my best to answer them as clearly and concisely as I can. Thanks. Have a great day.